Well, no, because she knows better. She would know to go directly to law enforcement. An accident's one thing. She would never do something like that. She knows better than that. I know it happens. It does happen with people, but no, she would go directly to law enforcement. She'd call an ambulance right away, number one, do anything. She would freak out. I mean, no, she's a good mother. She loves her children. She's not going to allow any situation like that. The biggest mistake she might have made is maybe choosing some wrong friends, which is, it happens.
4 years have passed since 5-year-old Summer Wells vanished from her home in rural Tennessee, leaving behind one of the most unsettling child disappearance cases in the state. Despite massive searches, nationwide alerts, and hundreds of tips, investigators still have no confirmed answers. But recently, a detail revealed by her father, Don Wells, has reignited public attention. His comments surfaced during a new interview and immediately raised questions about what may have unfolded on the day Summer disappeared. In this video, we explore that detail, why it stood out, and how it could shift the way people understand this case. Don's remark has stirred both debate and speculation, especially as the investigation remains active after 4 long years. With no arrests, no suspects officially named, and no clear direction, even a single unexpected statement can reshape the conversation. Tonight, we break down what Don said and why many believe it could change everything in the Summer Wells case. 4 years after Summer Wells vanished from her home in Tennessee, the case remains one of the most puzzling child disappearances in the region. Her story began on June 15, 2021, when she was reportedly helping her mother and grandmother outside before returning indoors to play. What happened next turned into a long-running mystery, with no clear explanation and no confirmed direction. The investigation would soon expand far beyond the quiet hills around the Wells home. According to her mother, Candace, Summer usually responded quickly when called. On that day, however, Candace said she called down the stairs multiple times, receiving no answer.
I see all these families, with their kids and how much they enjoy them and stuff, and we were stripped away from all our kids. All our kids have been kidnapped from us by DCS, and who knows, we're not sure about Summer, but we know about where our boys are at, always. But there's not much hope in this world. We have to trust God that there's hope in eternal life in heaven. We know that she was taken off her property, and we know she was taken away in a vehicle, or they would have found her in the area if she was somewhere in the area.
This silence felt unusual to her, prompting her to check the basement and then the rest of the home. Within moments, Candace realized Summer was nowhere inside. That moment marked the beginning of a community-wide search that would stretch into years. Authorities arrived quickly after the report was made, launching an extensive search of the surrounding woods, fields, and rural paths. Despite deploying teams, canine units, and specialized resources, investigators found no trace of Summer near the home or the nearby areas. The absence of any physical sign left them uncertain about whether she left on her own or whether someone may have led her away. This lack of clarity still troubles officials today. In the first days after Summer's disappearance, tips started coming in from residents who believed they had seen unusual activity. One of the most discussed tips involved a red or maroon pickup truck reportedly seen around the time Summer vanished. The vehicle was described as having ladders on the back, but despite multiple appeals from police, it was never located or confirmed to be connected. It remains one of many unclear elements in the case. Another early report came from a nearby resident who claimed she and her children heard a scream roughly 1 hour before Summer was last seen. At the time, she believed it could have been a routine noise, but later said she regretted not paying closer attention. Even so, investigators were unable to find anything linking the sound to the case. It became yet another detail preserved but unresolved. As months passed without answers, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation continued to refine its search strategies. Agents revisited previous locations, followed new tips, and conducted repeated searches across the wooded terrain. Despite their efforts, the case reached a challenging stage. No confirmed sightings, no recovered items, and no verified evidence showing which direction the child might have gone. The lack of certainty weighed heavily on the community. Throughout the investigation, both Candace and Doan Wells participated in interviews and publicly shared their belief that Summer did not simply wander off. Doan repeatedly expressed his view that Summer was taken from the property, possibly guided down the hill behind their house toward a waiting vehicle. This belief became a central part of the family's public narrative, even though law enforcement could not verify it. In a recent interview, Doan added a detail that brought renewed attention to the family's statements. He mentioned that one of the biggest mistakes made involved choosing the wrong friends. This remark stood out, not because it confirmed anything factual, but because it hinted at individuals around the family whom he now questioned. The public quickly began discussing this unexpected comment. Doan did not elaborate further or identify anyone by name. His comment did not provide new evidence for investigators, but it did reshape public conversations surrounding the case. Many who followed the story began revisiting earlier interactions, visitors, and social connections tied to the family. Though speculative discussions grew online, investigators emphasized that they still lacked verified information linking any individual to Summer's disappearance. Despite widespread attention, both parents have said they felt increasingly pressured by critics and online commenters. According to Doan, the level of misunderstanding and hostility reached a point where normal daily activities became difficult. He described situations where Candace would be confronted while in public, leading to emotional distress. The family says this environment added emotional strain on top of the ongoing uncertainty. Another major development that affected the family was the removal of their sons by child services. Doan expressed his frustration, saying he felt they were left without the support they needed during an overwhelming situation. He stated that while they did not know where Summer was, they did know their son's location, and he wished the circumstances had been different. This added another layer to an already complex family situation. Investigators have repeatedly clarified that while Doan and Candace passed their polygraph examinations, that alone does not rule out any angle. The sheriff previously stated that everyone is a person of interest until the truth is established. This means that every individual, every timeline entry, and every piece of information remains under consideration even after years of searching. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation recently released an age progression image of what Summer might look like today. These images are carefully developed to help the public recognize children who have been missing for long periods. The release brought renewed attention to the case and served as a reminder that the investigation is still active, even if visible progress seems slow. Officials described the case as one of the most difficult child disappearances they have ever handled. With no clear direction, no confirmed tracks, and no reliable witness accounts, investigators continue to face challenges in determining what occurred on that summer afternoon. Assistant Director Josh Melton commented that the lack of evidence keeps them uncertain about whether Summer walked away or whether an unknown individual played a role. The Wells property itself has been searched multiple times across different seasons. Investigators conducted ground searches, aerial reviews, and terrain mapping to ensure no area was overlooked. Each search produced the same conclusion. No confirmed sign of Summer remained on the property or in the surrounding forested areas. This result contributed to the ongoing divide between the potential theories. The case has also seen a significant number of false leads, misinterpretations, and online allegations. These often created confusion and redirected attention away from verifiable information. Law enforcement consistently reminded the public to provide only credible tips supported by first-hand knowledge. The shift toward online speculation placed additional strain on both investigators and the family. Despite all challenges, Don Wells maintains that he believes Summer was taken quickly and quietly, without the family noticing. He suggested that someone familiar with the area might have taken advantage of the moment Summer returned indoors. However, investigators have not confirmed this scenario, leaving it as one of several possibilities still under review. Community involvement has remained steady through vigils, awareness posts, and continued sharing of Summer's information. Posters and banners still appear on roads near the Wells home, urging anyone with knowledge to come forward. These displays reflect the local community's commitment to keeping the case alive and supporting ongoing efforts to find answers. Through all developments, one fact continues to dominate. There has been no discovery, no confirmed sighting, and no closure. The case remains open with every path still under consideration. For investigators, each year without progress becomes a reminder of how complex and delicate missing child cases can be, especially in rural areas with challenging terrain. As of today, officials emphasize that the investigation is still active and that they continue to hope for new information. Doan and Candace say they are holding on to hope as well, believing that answers are still possible. The new detail mentioned by Doan has created renewed discussion, but the truth of what happened to Summer Wells remains a question that only verified evidence can resolve. As the investigation entered its fourth year, officials continued reviewing the earliest moments of the case. They examined the sequence of events described by the family, the timeline of when Summer was last seen, and the movements around the Wells property. Each detail, even if previously explored, was re-evaluated to check for anything that might have been missed. This careful reviewing shows how determined investigators remain. Authorities often stress that missing child investigations can be exceptionally complex, especially in areas with dense terrain. In the rural environment surrounding the Wells home, search teams had to cover steep slopes, wooded sections, and narrow paths. Even though the area was searched repeatedly, officials acknowledged that visibility and terrain limits could make it difficult to locate small signs or clues, especially after long periods. One of the most challenging aspects is the lack of clear direction regarding what happened after Summer entered the home. Investigators found no confirmed witness who saw her leave the house, nor any camera footage capturing movement. Without that key piece, they have had to explore multiple possibilities equally. The absence of visual confirmation remains one of the biggest obstacles to understanding the case. The family continues to emphasize their belief that Summer did not leave on her own. Doan Wells has spoken many times about the layout of their property, describing how quickly someone could move down the hill behind the house. He believes the terrain could have allowed a person to approach unnoticed. This idea has been part of his public statements since the earliest days of the search. The remark from Doan regarding wrong friends has added new context to his concerns. Although he did not offer details, the comment suggested that some of the people around the family may have caused difficulties or contributed to an unsafe environment. Investigators have not confirmed the relevance of this comment, but it continues to fuel public discussion due to its unexpected nature. Authorities have also acknowledged receiving hundreds of tips throughout the investigation, though many failed to provide actionable information. Some tips were based on misunderstandings or unrelated events, while others lacked enough detail to follow. Sorting through these messages requires significant time, as investigators must ensure no credible information is overlooked. The neighbor who reported hearing a scream remains a figure of discussion. Although she expressed regret for not reacting sooner, investigators could not link the sound to Summer's disappearance. Weather, wildlife, and rural activity can all produce noises that may seem unusual in hindsight. Without additional confirmation, the report became one of many unverified observations. The red or maroon pickup truck with ladders on the back has also remained a persistent but unresolved detail. Investigators made public appeals asking the driver or owner to come forward, emphasizing that the individual may not be involved but could possess helpful information. Despite these appeals, the vehicle was never identified, preventing investigators from closing that part of the timeline. Meanwhile, the family's life changed dramatically after Summer went missing. Their sons were placed under the supervision of Child Services, a decision that Doan openly criticized. He described the experience as losing all of their children at once, creating emotional strain and uncertainty within the household. The family has spoken about the difficulty of functioning normally while dealing with public scrutiny. Online speculation added another layer of pressure. Misinterpretations, personal accusations, and heated debates spread across social platforms. Doan mentioned that the negative reactions created uncomfortable situations in public spaces. This environment made it harder for the family to navigate daily life and engage with community members without encountering judgment. Even as public discussion continued, officers maintained a consistent approach. They needed verifiable information. They reminded the community that theories and assumptions, no matter how widely shared, do not contribute to the actual search effort. The focus remained on concrete, factual details that could be tested or confirmed through investigation. To keep the case visible, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation released updated images showing how Summer might look now. These age progression photos are commonly used in long-term missing child cases and are designed by specialists who study growth patterns. Each updated image helps maintain public awareness, especially for those who may not have followed the case from the beginning. The release of the updated image prompted renewed sharing across local communities. Posters were refreshed, awareness groups posted updates, and local residents once again emphasized the importance of vigilance. The community's dedication has been one of the most consistent elements throughout the 4-year period. Investigators emphasized that they have conducted multiple large searches, each one involving coordination between various agencies. These searches took place both near the Wells property and in areas further out to ensure no lead was overlooked. Despite these efforts, none of the searches produced new information that could advance the case. Officials have stated openly that the absence of physical evidence makes determining the truth extremely difficult. In some missing child cases, investigators can rely on objects, tracks, or patterns to form a clearer picture. In Summer's case, no such elements were discovered. This left investigators working primarily with statements, timelines, and inconsistent tips. Throughout the process, Doan Wells has remained vocal about his belief that his daughter was taken by someone familiar with the surroundings. He continues to express hope that the truth will eventually emerge. Although his recent remarks sparked renewed interest, investigators have not indicated that these statements changed the formal direction of the case. One of the few constant factors is the sheriff's stance that everyone is a person of interest. This broad approach reflects the uncertainty and the need to evaluate all angles equally. The statement also highlights that, without confirmed evidence pointing to a specific scenario, investigators must remain open to all possibilities. As of now, the investigation remains active. Officials confirm that behind-the-scenes work continues, including data analysis, tip evaluation, and periodic reviews of earlier stages of the case. While not all activity is visible to the public, investigators say they remain committed to finding answers, regardless of how much time has passed. The Wells family emphasizes that they continue to maintain hope, even as the years pass. Doan often speaks about the importance of prayer and faith, which he says help him cope with the uncertainty. While he acknowledges that the world can feel discouraging, he continues to believe that answers, whether hopeful or difficult, are still possible. The case of Summer Wells remains one of Tennessee's most challenging ongoing investigations. The detail recently mentioned by Doan has renewed attention, but has not replaced the need for verified evidence. For now, the questions surrounding Summer's disappearance remain open, and both investigators and the community continue to wait for the breakthrough that could finally reveal the truth. 4 years after the disappearance, one of the most striking elements of the Summer Wells case is how few confirmed answers exist. Investigators have repeatedly emphasized their difficulty in forming a clear picture of what happened. With no physical evidence, no verified sightings, and no confirmed direction of travel, the case relies heavily on statements and the limited timeline provided by the family. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation describes the case as one that continues to challenge even experienced teams. Assistant Director Josh Moulton highlighted that the absence of solid evidence leaves them unable to determine whether Summer left her home voluntarily or whether someone approached her without being noticed. This uncertainty keeps both possibilities active, even after years of searching. One factor complicating the investigation is the rural setting. The Wells residence sits on a hill in a wooded area, creating limited visibility from the road. This environment makes it possible for someone to move quietly or remain unseen, but it also makes it possible for a child to wander without leaving clear traces. The land's layout has played a large role in keeping multiple theories open. During the early stages of the search, multiple agencies worked together across several days and nights. They utilized drones, mapping tools, and specialized teams trained for rural terrain. Even with all these resources, no clues emerged. Officials later acknowledged how rare it is for such a large operation to uncover nothing that could point to a direction for investigators to pursue. The family's statements have remained consistent over the years. Candace maintains that Summer entered the house, went downstairs, and then disappeared without any sound or warning. Doan continues to believe Summer was taken from the home quickly and without detection. Both parents state that they never found signs suggesting she left on her own or wandered into the woods. Public attention surged again when Don's remark about wrong friends resurfaced. Although he did not identify anyone, the comment prompted renewed discussions about the people who may have interacted with the family around the time of the disappearance. Doan suggested that poor choices in social connections could have contributed to an unsafe environment, though the link remains unconfirmed. Law enforcement, however, has not publicly indicated that this remark changed the direction of the investigation. Without verifiable information or new evidence, investigators must treat such statements as personal observations rather than actionable leads. This distinction is vital in maintaining a fact-based approach to the case. The Wells family has repeatedly stated that they passed their polygraph tests, something they cite as evidence of their cooperation. Investigators have not disputed this, but they also note that these tests do not determine guilt or innocence. The Sheriff's Department maintains that all individuals connected to the case remain under equal consideration until evidence clarifies the situation. One of the major difficulties for investigators is the timeline gap between when Summer was last seen and when the search began. Even a short window can create challenges in rural terrain. In this case, every minute mattered, and the uncertainty around the exact moment Summer left the house created a wider range of possible routes or encounters. As the case grew in public visibility, community discussions expanded, often beyond the verified facts. Authorities reminded the public to rely on official updates rather than speculation. Although community involvement helps keep attention on long-term missing cases, unverified theories can create confusion and shift focus away from credible information. While investigators continued their efforts, the family faced changes in their personal lives. Doan described how he had to leave the state for work due to negative encounters and economic difficulties. Candace faced challenges moving publicly without being confronted by rumors or accusations. These experiences created emotional strain, adding to the weight of the ongoing uncertainty. Officials have said that the case remains a high-priority investigation even after 4 years. They continue to follow up on new tips, evaluate past information, and conduct periodic reviews of all case materials. This continued commitment indicates that authorities have not considered the case inactive or closed, despite the lack of recent breakthroughs. The TBI's release of an age progression photo represented one of the most significant updates. Specialists created an image showing what Summer might look like today, assuming healthy growth. Age progression art is often used in long-term cases to help re-engage the public and provide a new reference for those who may have encountered the child over the years. Posters and banners remain visible near the Wells property, serving as reminders that the search has not stopped. These signs often include the age progression image, contact numbers, and messages encouraging anyone with information to step forward. Such displays symbolize the community's continuing support and reflect an ongoing hope for answers. Investigators have acknowledged that the lack of solid leads is deeply troubling. In most child disappearance cases, evidence eventually surfaces, whether through physical traces, credible witnesses, or captured movement. The absence of each of these categories makes the Summer Wells case highly unusual and difficult to resolve. The sheriff once reiterated a statement that has remained consistent throughout the investigation. Every person connected to the case is still considered a potential source of information. This does not imply suspicion toward specific individuals, but rather highlights the need to keep all timelines, relationships, and earlier statements open to review. Meanwhile, Don Wells continues to express his belief that someone approached the home and moved quickly once Summer was out of sight. He described how the hillside behind the house leads toward a lower road, which he believes could have been used by an unknown individual. Investigators have neither confirmed nor ruled out this possibility. Investigators remain careful in communicating with the public, often clarifying that the case lacks definitive evidence pointing to one explanation. They emphasize that they cannot confirm whether Summer left the property alone or whether another person was involved. This uncertainty is the core reason why the investigation must consider all available theories equally. Despite the challenges, both officials and the Wells family emphasize that hope still exists. Doan often speaks about maintaining faith and trusting that truth can emerge even after long periods. This outlook has helped sustain the family through ongoing questions, limited developments, and the emotional complexity of the situation. As the 4th year passes, the case remains open, active, and unresolved. Don's recent comments have sparked renewed public attention, but ultimately, investigators continue to rely on verified information rather than statements alone. Until new evidence surfaces, the disappearance of Summer Wells remains one of Tennessee's most enduring and heartbreaking mysteries. As we reach the end of this investigation breakdown, one reality becomes clear. The disappearance of Summer Wells remains a case filled with unanswered questions. 4 years have passed, yet the key details needed to understand what truly happened are still missing. This absence of clarity continues to weigh on investigators, the community, and anyone who has followed her story from the beginning. Every small update matters, and every statement from those closest to her adds another layer to the ongoing search for truth. Don Wells' recent comments have brought renewed attention to a case that never truly faded from public concern. His remark has sparked fresh conversations, prompting many to revisit the timeline and the early details that shaped the investigation. Still, authorities remind us that only verifiable information can move the case forward. As of now, the search remains active and official efforts continue quietly behind the scenes. The hope is that one confirmed lead will eventually guide investigators closer to understanding what happened on that June afternoon. For families affected by long-term disappearances, time can feel both slow and overwhelming. Yet hope remains an important part of these stories. Keeping Summer's name visible, sharing accurate information, and supporting ongoing awareness efforts all contribute to maintaining momentum. Even when progress seems slow, staying informed and engaged ensures that children like Summer are never forgotten. Every shared update keeps the case alive, reminding the public that answers are still needed. If you want fact-based coverage, clear timelines, and respectful analysis of child-related cases, consider subscribing to True Child Cases. This channel is dedicated to presenting verified information, avoiding speculation, and keeping attention on the children who still need answers. By liking, sharing, or commenting, you help increase awareness and ensure these stories continue to reach new audiences. Thank you for watching, and stay with us as we continue to explore the cases that matter, one update at a time.